Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering several examples on mixed fractions and how to deal with operations between mixed fractions, as well as order of operations in general. So I have 5 examples here that I wrote down. Uh, they came from the grade 9 textbook in the first chapter, so I wanted to just cover those. So we see here that the first problem is a mixed fraction problem. As you can see, they're basically equating two different mixed fractions, and there's an empty space here indicating that you need to basically fill out what will solve the problem. So we have here 5 and 7 over 4, and we have 6, and it's asking for what number would go over 4 in order to make these two mixed fractions equal. So as we know already, they both have the same common denominator. And right away, we notice that this is 7 over 4. So basically, this fraction here has a whole number already included within it. It has 4 over 4, which is equal to 1, right? And it has 1, and then it has 3 additional parts over 4. So essentially, if you were to break this down, you would see that it's equal to 5 plus 4 over 4 plus 3 over 4, right? And as we know, 4 over 4 is equal to 1. And so what we would be left with is we have a whole number here, and we have a remaining fraction of 3 over 4. So basically, what would happen is these whole numbers add up together. So you have a total of 6 in the whole number, as the whole number. And you have an additional fraction of 3 over 4. So basically that would be the answer. That's what you would fill into here as the fraction if you were to have 6 as the whole number. The next problem here is a division problem of a fraction. And what we see here is it's 3 over 4 divided by 9 over 10. If we were to look at multiplication is actually when you're multiplying a fraction, you pretty much just multiply the top two numbers and you multiply the bottom two numbers. So if this were multiplication, it would just be 3 times 9, which is 27, 4 times 10, which is 40. So you'd have 27 over 40 if it were multiplication. Division is the opposite of multiplication. So how that applies to this problem is you just basically just flip this number. So you'd get 10 over 9, and this would become multiplication. So what happens is it's 3 over 4. The first number stays the same. The next number becomes 10 over 9, and it becomes multiplication. So now, as we said, multiplication is just the top number is multiplied and the bottom number is multiplied. So we have 3 times 10, which is 30. And we have 4 times 9, which is 36. And you can break this down, simplify it even further. So if you divide that by 2, you get 15 over 18. And you can already tell that you can actually break this down even further. So it becomes, so if you divide these both by 2, divide these by 3 now, and it would be equal to 5 over 6. That's your final answer there. You could have just did it in one step. It could have just been divided by 6, dividing this by 6, because if you divide 30 by 6 by 30, sorry, 30 by 6, you'll get 5. If you divide 36 by 6, you get 6. Alright, so next problem here, minus 5 plus negative 2. So basically what you want to do here is you want to first imagine what happens in this situation. So you have a minus 5, and you're adding a negative number on top of that. So what's happening is it's becoming more negative. It's becoming more negative, right? And you want to just do that as a way to visualize it. This negative 2 is making this number more negative than it already is. So it would be negative 7, right? Because it's going into the negative direction even more. The way it's done mathematically is you have to open up this bracket here, right? When it comes to the signs, because there's two different signs here. What you have to do is you have to multiply these signs by one another. A positive times a negative is a negative. All right, so you're gonna end up with negative 5 minus 2, and again it becomes more negative. Minus 5 minus 2, and that becomes negative 7 as your final answer. Moving on to the number 4 here. So we see that here that this is a multiplication question here. Again, covering what we said earlier. So a positive times a positive is equal to a positive, as we know. A positive times a negative, as we just said, is equal to a negative. And vice versa. A negative times a positive is equal to a negative. Finally, a negative times a negative is equal to a positive. All right, so these are the 3 rules that you need to know when it comes to multiplication. So when we're doing this problem, we just want to focus on the numbers first. 5 times 3 is 15. And now we focus on the signs. So a negative times a negative, as we said, is a positive. You don't have to write that in, but it's just a positive, so it's 15. And that's our final answer. Finally, we have 7 squared minus the bracket of minus 6 plus 2 times 4. So now we have to go back to our bed mass rule here, which is our order of operations. So we know that that's bracket, you perform first. Over here is exponent. Over here, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Okay, so this is our order of operations. So as we know, here's an exponent, 7 to the power of 2. Here's a bracket as well. And here's our multiplication. And obviously we're going to do the addition and subtraction last. So 7 squared, 7 times 7 is equal to 49. Minus, perform this bracket here. So we have a negative 6 plus a 2. So this negative 6 is becoming more positive. It's going in this direction, becoming more positive, which means it's becoming a negative 4 because it's moving in the positive direction towards 0 or towards the positives. And you have times 4. And here we can see that there's a negative here and there's a multiplication. So according to our bed mass, we do this first. So we leave the 49, and over here we do the multiplication of the numbers. So we have 16, right? 16, and the sign is a negative times a positive, which is a negative. All right, we want to keep it in the brackets there just so we can keep these brackets or these signs correct here. You don't want to open up the bracket, because if we open up the bracket, we have to multiply the signs, which we don't want to do yet. We want to first multiply these two numbers together, -4 and +4, and then put it in the brackets here. And then now we see that these two signs are here, so we just want to multiply those signs as we said here. Minus times a minus is a positive. So what we end up with is 49 plus 16, which is equal to 65, which is our final answer. Sorry, let me just rewrite that. 65. So those are 5 different problems, which we go over order of operations and also mixed fractions. If you have any questions, please let me know below, and I will be happy to assist you. Thank you very much.